So in this short video we're just going to quickly look at adding some reference image planes. So in Maya we would have a little tab up here and we'd be able to select image plane and we'd drop it into the windows, and obviously we've got our perspective and all the views. Blender takes a bit more of a brute force approach, which I find is quite refreshing. So I'm going to introduce the tilde key. So the tilde key up next to number 1 and above the tab. So this is a quick way of getting a flyout menu to your favourite views. So let's go to the front. So here's the front view, and all I'm going to do is from my inspiration folder I'm just going to drag and drop the image plane in. Boom, there we go. So it comes in as an empty, which has got the texture map attached to it, and inside that empty this is telling us how it's going to be displayed. So it's giving us a size, so I could give a size of if 3 meters for instance. So this helps you start to reference the size down a little bit. There's an offset as well, so we've got an offset of where it is, so we can offset that, and that's moving away from the center point. If you can have -0.5, so we're back in center. And of course we can actually move this to whichever position we want, so we can just drop this straight into 0 if we want. Let me hide the cube. So I could just slide this up. Now in Maya you've got some tools that help you with transparency. So you can do this inside Blender. You've got a transparency. You can also set it to always be in front, which is quite useful. So if I bring the cube back, you can see that we can actually see that it's actually in front of the object. So if I brought the transparency back up, you can see that it's always in front of that object, which helps me a lot. And I've got a mix there. And there's also turning on just the front, so we can actually turn on the back face culling as well, which again can be quite useful when you're setting your if you're setting up a front and a back view, which you might have certainly when you're using for vehicles. So we could set this up with our movement tool. So if I go back to the front view, I could set this up on the front line. So I'm going to use the X translation just to sort of eyeball that into place. And if we use the move tool, we can actually slow down using the shift key. We can actually slow down the actual increment itself. If I can actually grab there we go. So using the shift key just helps you lock it in a little bit more. If I then went to the side view, I could just drag that in again, bang, and we know what size it is. So we've got a second empty in here, so we know what size it is. So it came in as 5 meters, but we changed it to 3. So again, it helps us a little bit. Turn on the transparency just as you would, and you can actually then just eyeball that up to whatever size it is. Again, put the front side on, and I'm just going to eyeball that up based on the size of the image, because I know that the images are the same size. Looking at this, actually we want it to be the back that's visible, because we want to rotate this around Z to get the right size. So let's do that as a -90. Yeah, let's do it that way. So we can do it that way, and then obviously we could just slide that in like this. Probably go for something like that. Now normally I would have my my textures would be set so they'd just be front and side, but I've just dragged this off the internet. But it shows you how we can set those image planes up and we can begin working with them. So the next thing would be, we don't want to use these, so if we created a new collection, you just call this reference, and then we just middle mouse, so we just control left mouse click and then left mouse click drag, and then what we can actually do is under here we can turn on the filters. So there's a selection filter, whether it's selectable or not, and you can actually just turn that filter off for the actual collection, and we can no longer select this. So this is kind of like getting your head around layers. The other thing as well is obviously you can hide these as well, which is pretty cool. Cube, and then we can go in and select these and start to manipulate them. We'd create a cut down the center, and then we'd do the delete. We could do a mirror modifier on this, so delete those vertexes. Select that cube, add a mirror modifier, and then we could start to make sure we've got clipping on. We could then start to manipulate this into the right shape. So using the G key, I'm just gonna bring this in. Oops, to rotate. G. So I'd start possibly something like that. And then from the side view, again the G key, just bring that in. Maybe just lift that up a little bit. We probably need a subdivision in there or two, but it gets us started, and we can start thinking about what that's going to look like as we go on to modelling. I'm going to save this. We'll come back to this when we do a bit of character modelling, but this was just a quick way of showing you how to set up the image planes.